believers in the design build methodology. And then that's, you know, you can keep it that simple. Just basically, that was just who I am, what I do, where I work, and then what the company does. So just touch on, you know, 3 or 4 small high-level topics like that, and I think you will be set. Okay, what else do we have here? Yeah, get the other people talking. I think I brushed on that enough, so we can head to the next slide. Okay, so as I was mentioning, a little bit of prep goes a long way. So just familiarizing yourself with the companies that you know you want to talk to, with the companies that are there that, you know, maybe you aren't on the top of your list, still knowing a little bit about the background helps. And what I've found in the past too is even if I did go up to those companies and they didn't ask me anything about their company and it never came up in conversation to, you know, bring up any background about their company, say that happens, which, you know, does happen sometimes, at least doing the preparation gives you the confidence to walk up to that booth. Because just naturally, like as humans, if you're familiar with something, you're going to be more comfortable approaching it. So I think that the preparation, if anything, just gives you a boost of confidence. And then, yeah, as it says, any notes that you've taken, maybe this is the second time you've met someone at that company. If it is, and you've seen them at multiple career fairs or you've seen them somewhere else, I would definitely connect those dots and bring that up. Because that's going to be an easier way for them to remember you.
I'm going to talk about Mary a little bit here. I didn't tell you I was going to do this, Mary, but so we hired Mary about a year ago now, and Mary was like the perfect example of how to come prepared to an interview. We actually had a phone call first just to see if this was potentially a good fit. Mary was referred to us by another project manager that works here. And Mary was the most prepared candidate I've ever talked to.
Wow, thank you.
She knew a lot about our business. She came prepared with a list of questions, but she also came prepared with things that she knew about our company that she could relate to her current position at her past company. And we were able to talk really fluently about what ARCO does and what design build is, because she had put some front end work. Even just coming with questions goes a long way with the people that you're trying to get in with and trying to talk to. So sorry, Mary, but good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, so at the event, you've gotten all your preparation work done and you're feeling pretty good. You're feeling confident. So now we've got to work the room. And of course, we're all professionals at working the room, but here are a couple of tips and tricks. This is Corey, by the way. She's one of our director of operations in Chicago. She's a rock star. Don't clump with people you know, but use them to your advantage. So it can all be very intimidating to go to a new, let's start with a networking event. So you're starting with your new company and your boss says, hey, why don't you go to this networking event to learn a little more about the new industry that you're in. I think you'll meet a few cool people and learn something about the market or a new product that we're launching or something. So you grab another coworker in the office and you go to this networking event, and it's really intimidating because you know no one in the room. You know, plan ahead with the person that you may be able to bring to that meeting with you. You don't want to all go talk to or both go talk to the same person, but maybe, you know, you split up in the room a little bit, and once your conversation dies down, you go over to the person that you came with and you say, hey, how about you introduce me to who you just met, and then you let that person go talk to someone else. And you can do that kind of vice versa later in the event. Just kind of using the people you're going with to meet others. Don't be shy. This, it's kind of an awkward situation to be in, to just walk up to someone you don't know and, you know, shake their hand and introduce yourself. But just know that everyone else is in the same position. And so it's okay to just embrace that awkwardness and go for it. You know, saying hi, just being yourself, starting some small talk, starting the conversation. When I first came to Dallas, I mean, I'm not an extrovert. I'm not someone that feels comfortable walking up to people and just saying hi. So I've had to work on this for sure. It doesn't come naturally to me. But I think when you recognize that everyone, like, there are probably people there that know 50 people of the 100 people that are at this event. But there was a point where they were that person that walked into the room not knowing anybody. That we've all been there, everybody's done it, everybody knows the feeling. So if you do walk up, just know that that person is probably going to extend a hand. Well, maybe not right now with COVID, and try to introduce you to the group and engage you in conversation, and it'll all be fine. But yeah, be yourself. The big thing here is to not try to be salesy or try to be someone that you think someone wants to talk to. People can sense that, so just be yourself. Okay, meeting people at the event. This is incredibly true for career fairs as well. People love talking about themselves. So especially if you're kind of quiet, Mary could talk to a wall for 3 days. I can't. But what I am pretty good at doing, I think, is continuing the conversation by asking questions and being genuinely interested in that person's responses. I mean, maybe you guys have even seen this in past career fairs, like go through your elevator pitch, and give them a high-level overview of who you are, where you're from, what your major is, and what your goals are. And then see what happens if you immediately turn the conversation back to them and ask about their role and come with some interesting and insightful questions about the company and what the company's goals are and what the value proposition is, and how they retain employees. Like where do they see themselves in 5 to 10 years? Do some research, do some digging, and then come with those questions. And then, you know, once you find some common ground from like a networking standpoint, just work on that. If they want to talk about their new dog or their family or a vacation they're taking, use that to build that rapport with that person. And that's going to go a long way. You know, at a career event, again, you're not trying to completely sell yourself. You're trying to get to that next step. You're trying to get to the interview. That's the big winner. That's the big ticket. And same thing with a networking event. You're having that initial meeting to gauge or to get enough interest between the two groups, you and this other person, to set up a follow-up. So that's the big goal here. And in order to get to that follow-up, got to exchange contact information. And again, true for a career fair too. Whoever you're talking to, thank them for their time. Explain that you want to go meet other people, and that's okay. But make sure you get their information so you can have that follow-up, and make sure you give them yours. Mary, did I miss anything here?
No, I think you covered it.
Any questions, guys? No? Okay, so this can be kind of tricky, but you know, you only have a certain amount of time at networking events and career fairs and everything to talk to everybody you want to talk to. And other people feel the exact same way. I was in a career fair yesterday for Texas A&M all day. And it's hard. Like you want to give everybody a certain amount of time and not cut off the conversation, but also don't want to stop the next person or stop meeting the next person. So you're kind of balancing the amount of people you're meeting with the quality of conversations that you have. So, as you start doing this more, you're going to get more comfortable with the ability to recognize, okay, I don't need to take this conversation any further. I've done what I need to do. We both feel good about continuing it in the future. Now I need to move on to the next person. We all know how it feels to get stuck in a conversation for a little bit too long. So think in advance about ways that you can very smoothly exit a conversation. Smoothly and maybe not so smoothly. We all know, like, go use the bathroom or get another drink or see someone across the room that you want to say hi to. Or like use your buddy to kind of tag team and keep meeting people. Or frankly, I mean, if everyone in the room is also there to meet other people, I think people will actually appreciate if you say, all right, it was awesome meeting you. I'm sure you want to meet other people, so I don't want to hold you up too much longer. Do you mind if I get your business card and let's schedule coffee or lunch or even a virtual meetup? And then take it from there. And same thing with your interviews. So, you know, you're building that relationship enough to get to the next step. And then in the interview, that's where you're really selling yourself. Last point here, taking notes when you have a free moment. This is incredibly important, especially if you're meeting a ton of people. Writing down a couple things from each conversation that you have so that you remember that person and also have something to speak to the next time you meet them. So this could be, again, about their job or what they do at the company, or maybe an upcoming vacation that they mentioned that you can ask about the next time you see them. Maybe they mentioned an opportunity that's coming up. anything that's going to kind of trigger something in your mind to remember that person, remember that conversation, and have a more, I guess, a more meaningful conversation the next time you meet. Oh, right. Sorry. Thought this was Mary. Okay. So then after the event, this can be the most important part of this whole process, this whole networking process. You do want to take all of your notes and consolidate them somewhere. As a company, when we're networking, we use Salesforce. It's a tool to basically keep track of everyone that we're prospecting, people we meet, relationships we build, and opportunities that might come from it. OneNote, I don't know if you guys are familiar with OneNote, but Mary and I live by OneNote. It's great in your professional careers as well. Excel is a good one, obviously, to keep track of names and businesses and occupations and fun facts about them and contact info. But as long as it gets somewhere, that's okay. LinkedIn, this is a big one. I'd also encourage you guys to try to find, if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, first off, make one now or before the career fair. And then everyone that you meet, especially if you're highly interested in that company, find them on LinkedIn and follow them, shoot them a note saying it was great talking to you today. The professional world lives on LinkedIn. Everyone that we interact with immediately follows each other on LinkedIn, and it shows that you're ready to be in the professional world, and you're also really good at networking, which is important when you're building a career. So definitely follow up with everyone on LinkedIn, and then reach out, next day, a couple days later to, in a networking scenario, suggest some sort of follow-up meeting, whether that's coffee or lunch or a happy hour or just a virtual phone conversation to continue the relationship. From a career standpoint, or career fair standpoint, this is probably more, thank you for your time. It was great talking about you. This was the biggest takeaway I had from our conversation, and I'd really appreciate the chance to come interview and work for your company. So a couple of things to just make sure you're following up. Otherwise, all that research that you did and all the work that you put into working that room doesn't go anywhere.
Yes. So as Lauren mentioned, I couldn't agree more. I mean, in these career fairs, you don't have much time with each person. So you need to make it count. And I think the make it count portion, the most important is the follow-up, because people remember how you leave them. They remember, sometimes just the reach out at the end or the last 30 seconds, et cetera. So it's really important to finish up strong there. Don't underestimate the power of a handwritten note. Just in my career, I have really seen the benefits of that and seen that goes a really long way, more so than, just typing up an email. It adds a personal touch to it. So I would definitely recommend that wherever you can and wherever you see fit. These next two bullet points are more about, sharing marketing content. So really what we mean by that, like in the professional world, something that Lauren and I do is, say we meet with a potential client, and maybe we meet them first and it's just more of a meet and greet, as she was saying, learning about what they have going on in their life, if they want to talk about their vacation, et cetera. It's just more of a relaxed conversation. And then maybe we will move into more conversations about, what services ARCO could potentially provide them. And then eventually we'll follow up with something that we call as like a capabilities package. So we'll send them something over email, marketing content saying, hey, here's a little bit more about what we do, a little bit more about what we can provide, some examples of previous projects. So how that can translate over to y'all is, you've already had the meeting at the career fair. You've already given them the high-level elevator speech. You can follow up with some more information like, thanks for your time. And whether that's, like Lauren said, grabbing a coffee or just shooting them more information. Here's more about what I'm interested in. Here's some previous experiences that I've had that I can see translating over well, to whatever their company does. Here's more things that I'm interested in. So maybe you didn't get into all those details in the career fair, and just kind of marketing yourself through that. And then I think it's also a really good idea, to remember whatever you discussed. And if you see a relevant article, whether that's like going and finding one or just you come across one, adding a connection like that and a personal touch like that goes a long way too. Just it sets you apart from just the, hey, nice to meet you. hopefully we'll catch up sometime in the future. It just adds like a whole other element to that. So I would definitely choose something off this 3 bullet pointed list and follow up with one of those. It goes a long way and makes all your time worth it. And then, yeah, before you see them at the next career fair or before you see them, if you're getting coffee or lunch, re-engage with them, whether that's on LinkedIn or on email. They probably meet a lot of people and they're busy, and it's just good to bring yourself up and keep yourself, top of mind for them next time y'all meet. So
Yeah,
that is what I would recommend.
Yeah. And to reiterate Mary's points, like it doesn't have to just be one of these follow-ups. Like we'll send a handwritten note, and then a month later, if we haven't really heard from them, share one of those articles. And then a month after that, share some of our marketing content. Like it, and relating that back to your careers, like if you really want to work for a company, you've got to stay top of mind and you've got to show how much you want to work for them. So at the next opening that they have, they think, oh, Jessie reached out to me 3 times over the past month. We need to call her back. So just keeping, and this is what we tell our salespeople too, staying top of mind, even if you're not getting the response you need right away. We just had a deal come through. One of our employees has been bugging a construction manager, not bugging, but staying top of mind, sending an email, sending articles, sending a follow-up. And now we're finally chasing a deal for it. It's turning into a real opportunity. So that persistence helps. And even if people don't really take the time to respond, you're still in their head, and they're going to remember your name and think of you when it matters. And then, sorry, Mary, do you want to talk about that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So one more bullet here. And one more thing to piggyback off too, what Lauren was just saying, I thought of, like I've reached out to a couple people, networking too, like she was saying, and trying to find prospective clients. And, I emailed someone one time early on and never got a response, and I was kind of nervous to email them back. And the advice that I received was just go ahead and, touch base with them again. They're busy and maybe they overlooked it. And that was the case. They were busy and overlooked it, and we're glad that I followed up. So persistence in a reasonable way is good there. And then don't be afraid to ask for referrals. You never know who someone may refer you to, and you can just continue to grow your web bigger and bigger that way, and it will start compounding and getting larger faster. And then in today's world, especially, like you never know. Say you build a relationship with someone at a certain company, and that may not be the company that you want to work for, but that's the importance of building that relationship, because you never know. They may switch companies, they may go work somewhere else, move cities, et cetera. And that may be somewhere where you want to work, or that may be someone that you could do work with. And so you never know how long someone's going to be at a certain company. They may go somewhere else and extend a whole nother web of networking for you there. So definitely ask for referrals. I've been surprised by this one. And don't be afraid to do it too. It can be a little bit of an awkward ask. You can feel awkward about that at first, but what I've found is people usually appreciate you asking them for the referrals, and they're happy to pass that along. So
if you show genuine interest in expanding your network and expanding your career, people want to help you, especially if they've been in the same situation as you at some point or another. Okay, so do you guys have any questions, any feedback, anything we flew through too fast?
I have a question. I got here a little late, so sorry if you guys already touched on this. But with regards to the elevator speech, especially with everything being virtual now and possibly Expo being moved to chat rooms, do you have any tips on how to give a good elevator speech in a chat room?
Yeah, I'm going to be at the UT Career Fair next week, and our HR recruiter was telling us how that chat room is going to work, and it's going to be interesting. Have you guys done anything like that before?
We used the software we're supposed to use last week, and it didn't work.
That's not good.
Well, I mean, also my friend, she's president of SEC at A&M. I heard there were a lot of issues yesterday for their expo.
There were.
To the point where they had to extend it too.
Yeah, so we're actually going to get another day. We've got an unexpected part 2 happening tomorrow. Because it would take 10 minutes to load the next person you wanted to talk to. So hopefully that doesn't happen next week. Hopefully the system works a little better. I think it just got overloaded, and then Amazon Web Services somehow like had an outage too. So not a good combo. But back to your question, Caitlin. Mary, did you hear Mary's elevator pitch earlier, or did you come after that?
I think I came in the middle of that. Sorry.
Okay. Mary, or I'll go back to that slide too.
Yeah, so I can kind of reiterate that. And about the chat room, I haven't been on one in a career fair, but I was in a networking event last week. Luckily, there weren't that many people. I think it was maybe like 50 to 100. So it didn't get overloaded, and it worked pretty quickly. And basically, I thought, I was thinking maybe it was going to be a little bit more awkward off the get-go because I didn't know what to expect. But actually, it wasn't that bad. We would enter into a waiting room, and then we were matched up, and it would just be a one-on-one virtual 4-minute networking time. And so it wasn't like people trying to talk over each other, et cetera. It was totally fine. And so they would kind of give the elevator speech and then just have a couple minutes of conversation after that. But back to this slide. So you probably caught the beginning, but really what's the most important thing here is practice. Practice makes perfect, and definitely build your confidence. So that's the key thing. Just go in, be yourself, be confident, and keep it short and concise, about 20 to 30 seconds. And this is going to be the probably first time you've met that person. So don't be too focused on like, oh, I have to get in and sell myself. This has to be a sales pitch. Really just think of it a little bit more relaxed, high level, just a brief about yourself. So if I were to give one, I'd come and say, my name is Mary Patterson and work as a project manager at ARCO Murray on the tenant solutions team. ARCO Murray is a national construction company, and we're fierce believers in the design build methodology, and then leave it at something as simple as that. So just who you are, what you do, where you work or where you go to school, I guess, and then what your role is there. So what my role is at ARCO, or what your major is, and kind of high level interest at Texas. And so then they most likely will ask you follow-up questions. I don't know how long your chat room lasts, but if your elevator pitch is only 20 to 30 seconds, I would think you at least would have a couple minutes to visit after that. So don't be afraid to ask them questions, get them talking. We're kind of touching on this in the end of the network presentation, but don't feel like you're ever bugging them. I'd gotten myself in a couple situations before where I was asking a decent amount of questions, and it ended up being a really positive thing. And you're not bugging them. That's why they're there, and they're going to appreciate the questions, and they're going to want to share. So don't be afraid to kind of reverse that and come with a list for them. But yeah, I think just hopefully, over Zoom, you lose the personal touch of being able to really read someone's body language, et cetera. But hopefully if it's just a one-on-one, it'll be pretty smooth.
Yeah, and without having experience in this like group chat scenario, maybe on the end of your elevator pitch, you say like, this is what I know about your company, and this is what I'm hoping to learn more about. Showing that you've done some research and that this person's going to have a productive conversation with you because you can speak to what their product is or their value proposition is or something.
Yeah, that's another thing that we were discussing earlier. Is a little bit of research can really go a long way. So make sure you at least kind of know what they do. Like Lauren was saying, some product types, you don't have to memorize their whole website or stress yourself out too much. But I would definitely, and hey, the nice thing about being on Zoom is you can take some like bullet point notes. You can have some sticky notes set that way. Like if you want to talk to 20 companies, then you don't have to memorize everything, and you can just refer to some cheat sheets. I mean, I would definitely do that too.
Yeah. From the career fair yesterday, my first question, my go-to question is tell me a little bit about yourself. So I'm like inviting people to give me their elevator pitch. And then once we get through a little bit about them, my next question is, what do you know about ARCO? And there is nothing that's more of a turnoff than someone saying, I don't know, I was hoping you could tell me more. Come with something. And then yeah, try to have a list of some insightful questions based on some homework you did. And then, shoot, I had one more question there, or follow-up there. Man, I lost it. Did that kind of answer your question though, Caitlin?
That did. It was helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
I have another question. What have been like your favorite questions to be asked at like career fairs when you're like talking about yourselves, or like ARCO Murray? What are your favorite questions to answer?
Mary, do you have some?
Well, I mean, so basically, what are your favorite questions to be asked?
Yeah, like what do you like talking about? Like what do you like to talk about yourself?
Yeah. So, I mean, I like when people, I mean, I think it adds like a personal touch too when people ask, like, what's your favorite thing about work, like about working at ARCO? Or can you give me an example, of a most recent project that you've done so that you can like actually relate to something that's more tangible than just like tell me about what you do. So like, tell me about what you do and, can I hear some details about the project or what's your favorite thing there? And just trying to get something that's a little bit more tangible, I guess. Does that
Yeah.
answer it?
Yeah, I think those are perfect questions. And then once they tell you a little bit more about what they do, or why they like working in the company, or what's the company culture like, what's the best part about working there, I think you can really impress people if you take it to a little bit of a higher level, like global understanding too. So, what's the value proposition for the company? What clientele are you trying to focus on? How's COVID impacting your market or your business? Where do you see the company going or improving on in the next 5 years? Maybe you talk about like innovation, if it's something that can apply to that group. Like, what are they doing from a technology standpoint? Like, I mean, ask about things that you are curious about. But when you ask things that are more like high level thinking versus just, so what would I do as an intern? That's an important question, but it's a very narrow focus compared to the bigger picture approach about what that company really wants to do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you guys mentioned LinkedIn. I was wondering if you could maybe drop your LinkedIn, accounts in the chat so we can all kind of review this as well. Might as well start early with the connections kind of thing. So.
Yeah, definitely. Would love to get some LinkedIn requests from all of you.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Another thing that I was thinking about just from like career fairs and networking events is like Lauren was saying, it's important to connect on LinkedIn after, but sometimes I would find myself in these situations where you're talking to so many people and maybe it's fast paced and you think you're going to remember that person's name and you actually don't. So a good thing, an easy thing on Zoom, that's you're not going to be getting anyone's business card via Zoom, but just like jotting their name down, and then when you friend them, send them like a little personalized message, and that'll stand out a lot too, because those people are probably getting a lot of LinkedIn requests after a career fair, and then if you can stand out just by jotting down, thanks for chatting today, had a great time, really enjoyed learning about XYZ. Something that's that simple can make you stand out too.
I had a question at the end. You also talked about like asking for references. I don't have like a ton of experience with recruiters and all that, so I was wondering how to like know when to ask for a reference, or what situation like that would be a good question to ask.
Yeah, I think when you're in a career fair, I can't really think of a situation where it might come up there. But say, or maybe you end up talking to someone at a career fair and you thought it was going to be some position, but then you start talking with them and it's not really the position that you want. That's where you could very quickly say, well, this is what I'm looking for. Do you have a suggestion about what other company I might be able to look into in order to find the role that I'm looking for? That's an easy way to pivot the conversation from, okay, thank you for your time. Is there anyone else that you can refer me to? From a networking standpoint, everyone's there to meet more people. That's the point of networking. These events are built so people can expand their professional networks, which is important even if you're not in a sales role for whatever company you guys end up working for. Because you never know, like Mary said, who you're going to meet and where that person might be in the future or where you want to be in the future. And building those relationships, both from professional and for personal standpoint, can really help you in the long term. But so long story short, when you're at these networking events and meeting people, maybe you run into someone that's actually been to 3 or 4 of these events, and they've been in the industry for a little longer than you as a new person has, and they're going to love that you're taking the initiative to go to one of these events, or learn a little bit more about a technology platform or a system that you're working on, or whatever event this is. And you might say, it's been awesome talking to you. I'm trying to grow my network and just kind of expand my knowledge of this subject. Is there someone else that you can introduce me to that might be a good resource for me? And people just love that question. I do this because I'm trying to grow my network in Dallas here. And I usually get 10 references from every person I ask this question to, because they're so excited to be like, oh, well, you should definitely meet this person and talk to this architect and talk to this broker. This person recently moved into a design role, a sales role for this design firm. You should get to know them. And they all think that I should meet 10 different people. And then you've got your work cut out for you to meet those 10 people. And you can just imagine how quickly that 10 people becomes, 10 person from each of those 10 people, and how quickly you can really build your network. At ARCO, I mean, Mary and I are not salespeople. We're project managers. We're more operations and running projects, but we coach everybody that everybody sells, because when you know what you're doing and you do your job well, people gravitate towards you, especially if you want to grow your network. And people want to help people that are really invested in what they do. So Mary made a good point to say, like, never feel awkward about asking for a referral. Mary's actually done a really good job of this too. She's completed 2 projects this year for a couple of clients. And at the end of the job, they were saying how awesome it was to work with her, which is something that we love, creating those raving fans. So she turned around and said, thanks so much. I loved working with you too. Is there anyone else that I could talk to, or any other project that you think might be a good fit for us to work on? And it actually turned into a potential repeat opportunity even with that same client. But everybody wants to refer and help people that have been good to them. So if nothing else, just be good to people and it'll be good for you. And then, yeah, just don't feel awkward. Mary, anything I missed there? Probably talked too much.
No, I think you covered it. That was awesome.
I put this in the chat, but I just wanted to ask, do you mind if we connect with y'all on LinkedIn?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I don't know if there's a good answer, but is there, I guess when we're networking or when we're giving our elevator pitch or anything, is there a difference in the way we should talk about ourselves for a full-time job, like in comparison to when internships, either like elevator pitch or interviews, or just like networking in general?
I don't think so. I think you could say I'm looking for an internship, or I'm looking for a full-time position. And I'm really interested in your firm because I know this about you and I want to learn more about this. I'd say that's the only way you need to distinguish it, whether you're like what kind of position you're looking for. But as far as modifying it to say more or less about yourself or the company that you're talking to, I don't think you need to change anything there.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And guys, we've been in your shoes. We've been to a lot of career fairs ourselves. So yeah, if you connect with us on LinkedIn, and also you guys have Katie's email, so you can reach out to her too. And any questions you have at any time, we are more than happy to try to give you whatever advice we can. Because I know this can be really stressful, especially with COVID. So we're happy to help anytime. I guess we're kind of coming up on our time limit here. Any other final questions or thoughts or anything?
I have a quick question. So like, especially for like freshmen and sophomores, how would you frame your elevator pitch to like talk about other things if you don't have like technical experience with regards to like internships and stuff?
Yeah. My opinion on that, like we don't, we're not necessarily looking for only juniors and seniors. If you impress us and you're a freshman or a sophomore, we are just as excited to have you, if not more excited, because that might give us a few years to work with you and give you some more training and coaching before you'd come work with us full time. We've had interns that have interned with us for 3 years, and then come back and work with us full time, and they can basically run a job as soon as they start day one. So I guess my suggestion there would be to not treat yourself any less important than a junior or a senior going to these career fairs. Get credit for the fact that, if you're a freshman, you're going to these career fairs already and hoping that you get something from it. I think a good question for younger people to ask is, what are you looking for in a candidate? I'm relatively new in my career search, and I'm learning a lot at school and I'm loving it. But I'm wondering what skills you look for so that I can work on that over the first few years of my college career. I think that's a good question to ask if you're on the younger side. Otherwise, I would treat the conversation exactly the same. Learn about the company, show that you're really interested. Talk about yourself and what your goals are and what you do. And yeah, just assume that your age isn't going to matter.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, thanks for having us, guys.
Okay. If there's no more questions, because it is almost time, I'd like to thank Laura and Mary so much for hosting this workshop for us. UTC really appreciates your support. Also, if you still need to sign in for the event, I put the sign-in link in the chat. And also, if you're doing the SWE bingo for this event, the emoji is a hammer. But those are all the closing words I had for this, in addition to if anyone wants to add any more.
Yeah, thank you all for having us. This was a lot of fun.
Agreed.
Thank you for coming, and your presentation was really great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I forgot to say, we've got like a 1-pager, just basically putting all of this in more of a Word doc, concise form. So I'll get that to Katie, and she can send it to you guys. Cool. Well, thanks, guys. Good luck with the career fair next week. Come talk to us, and we'll look for your invite on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
All right, you too.